Hello, NoSleep. It feels like my whole world is falling apart, and since no one else believes me, I'm turning to you, Internet sleuths. What I'm about to explain might be a bit graphic, so you are warned. But I am in need of help, or, the very least, someone that does not call me nuts. As I do not want to get ahead of myself, I'll start at the very beginning and tell you about the events that happened over the last 2 days. My name is Insomnious. Well, not really, but it's a fitting nick for the time being. I'm 27 years old and I'm from the American Midwest and scared to be found. So that's all you need to know right now. As a part of a private contractor, I'm currently located in Germany with 3 coworkers, my boss and his assistant. We've known each other since kindergarten, been through some bad stuff together and built a friendship that would outlast any empire. But it seems that doesn't count for anything right now. My friends have changed, in the course of a day, completely. But I'm already getting ahead. We like to go exploring. As our work takes us to many different and interesting places, we've grown fond of urban exploration instead of the usual bar crawls. So every weekend we look for a new exciting place, get together, and roam around. Not many get paid to visit foreign countries and on top of that be able to roam around after work after all. Our little squad of 4 has seen many abandoned places around here, like Teufelsberg Radio Tower in Grunewald Forest or the 1936's Olympic Village in Berlin, to sum up just a few landmarks. The last one we visited, however, will remain a secret. I don't want any of you snooping around on your own. We made the mistake and it turned out real bad. Last week we just got into a new town and found an old military compound abandoned after the stationed American troops were withdrawn from Germany. Exciting, right? Not only exciting, but also dangerous, as military compounds are still the property of the country that owns it, even if it's abandoned. The compound was just out of town, and after a few days of driving past it, stopping for smoke breaks in between and gathering some intel on it, we found out the security firm guarding it only drove past in 4-hour intervals and didn't bother to enter the premises. Rather, just driving up to the old rusty gate, spying inside and leaving afterwards. Perfect for us. So we took the scenic route through the forest up until where we couldn't go by car anymore and continued on foot. After what must have only been 5 minutes, we reached the fence of the compound from the opposite side of the metal gates. Security wouldn't come for another 3 hours at best. Lucky for us, we didn't even have to break in as the fence was already bent out of shape. A nearby tree must have had fallen on it. Long cleared, of course, but the fence was never really recovered, and so made it easy to climb over it, and would even be accessible from the inside to get back out. We had many more exciting locations in terms of number of structures. This compound only consisted of 1 set of barracks, a main office building, a small hospital, and a munitions depot dug into the ground with a hatch leading into it. Reaching the first building, the barracks, we already felt uneasy. You see, when you go exploring, you're usually not the first one to find a site, especially something just out of town. Other urbexers or teenagers normally would have already left their mark on the place. Nothing. Place looked pristine, untouched. No litter, no graffiti, nothing. Other than pieces of wall that came off the buildings, dust and the occasional overgrowth, no signs of other intruders. First, we wondered if the place was still active, but upon inspecting the barracks, that did not seem to be the case. Dusty beds still with their mattresses and bed sheets, lockers with sets of standard military clothing, bathrooms still with dried soap lying around, as if they left in the middle of the day and moved out. This was not necessarily a sign of foul play, as many old military structures never get cleaned completely. There were no personal effects to be found, so it seemed as if they left in a hurry, but had the time to collect their belongings. The office building was no different, only with the exception that no records or other papers were to be found. Still intact but abandoned, in a state of still here, not clean, so to speak. The hospital was a little mystery, as it looked like the other buildings with a fully intact and rather clean operations room that looked fit to be used in the flesh if needed. Might have been the case because it was abandoned in a near perfect sanitized state and being somewhat airtight. Don't know if that is the case, don't care, it was boring as hell. Almost disheartened by all the dull sights, I dreaded going for the munitions depot, expecting it to be just an empty storage space full of dust. This was not the case. Opening the hatch, I instantly felt uneasy, spooked by the cold air coming out of it like when you enter a crypt. Our boots echoed off the walls as we stepped down a flight of stairs that led into a hall floored with marble. Pillars reaching the pyramid-like ceiling that was typical for a munitions depot. We looked around. From the outside, this did look like a munitions depot, but this sure as hell wasn't. It didn't feel right from the beginning. The hall was lined with doors that led to small chambers with desks, leather couches, and meeting rooms. The hall itself contained what seemed to be a waiting area lined with shelves of pamphlets about the army, numerous wars, enlistment procedures, and whatnot. Most importantly, it looked clean, fresh, as if it was a Monday morning right before the store opens. I wanted out. God, I never wanted out more than in that moment, but the others were awestruck, didn't see any danger. So I too got into the spirit. Never was the type to ruin the fun, even if I was not on board. And this is where our story really begins. Now, before I go on, please just read it and try to believe me. I went to the police. They even came with me to the place and then discredited me on grounds of me being sketchy. I need your help. Sifting through a few rooms adjacent to the main hall, which were mainly offices, Mike, one of my friends, yelled out to us from the other end of the hall. He had found another flight of stairs down to a lower level. The others followed his voice as I stayed back behind to look around the room another time. Told them to go ahead, I'd be right with them. I had seen a knee-high grate in one corner and wanted to find something on my own, rather than having the others around, taking the credit for it as usual. Opening it wasn't hard. Fell right off when I hit it with my boot, and made way for another room, seemingly hidden. Not too well hidden, but hey, at least I could say I found a secret after all. A disappointing secret, that is. The room was completely empty, except for a table on the far side, and this is where everything went to shit. From here on out, this could get a little graphical, so if you're on the weak stomach team, think twice before reading on. I made my way to the table, at least tried to, but the creaking floorboards gave in under my weight and broke. As I went down, I initially thought that maybe my foot got stuck or I went in about an inch, but in the few seconds it took, I saw the room disappear, floorboards fly across my vision, and just remember hitting the ground hard, with rubble falling on top of me. I don't know if I was out for a minute or an hour, but when I came to, I was laying in what I think was a mixture of floorboards, asbestos, and rat shit. I managed to break through the floor, fall right into a service shaft of about 4 meters, and ended up in what looked to be a service tunnel for the floor above and below me. There was no way to climb back up. Everything hurt, and in the commotion I managed to get separated from my friends. So I made my way in the only direction I had, forward, hoping to find an exit hatch or maybe a service door to one of the floors. Along the way I saw many grates you could see through and used to watch the floor below. Empty rooms after empty rooms until I finally could hear voices and see light. I was just about to yell out to them, tell them I was stuck in the damn service tunnel, but I am very sure that I heard a gunshot. Yes, a gunshot. And no, none of us even owned a gun. Mike, maybe back home in the States, but not here in Germany. With my heart beating out of my neck, I crept forward and watched on through the grate. Sure enough, my friends sat there, hands bound, mouths gagged, holding on to each other. Next to them, someone lay motionless, with a red puddle forming next to them, illuminated by the flashlight held by one of 5 figures standing in a circle around the victim. Chants were said, blood was collected, remarks in a language I didn't understand were exchanged, all with me watching through a wall above in horror. Was it only you 3 in the hall above? No one answered, my friends just sitting there in shock. I want to know if there was only you 3, or if there is another running around upstairs. A voice, firm and commanding, pronouncing the words extraordinarily clear, almost if it was hard for him. Still no answer. Take them with you. Leave her. She had it coming. Leave her eyes open. You know why. Sounded like he spoke through his teeth, not being able to move his jaw. It was another, taller guy, talking this time. Nodding. Walking. My friends screaming into their gags as they were dragged out of the room. Fading noises. Silence. I was unable to move. Unable to help. Unable to comprehend. Still am, actually. I made my way farther down the service tunnel and finally found an exit hatch onto the lower floor. Almost expected one of the goons to jump around the corner and catch me. Turned out the rooms were all connected. Similar to a hallway or a hose of offices that leads you to the boss of whatever sick game this resembled. Room after room was just empty spaces with thick dust. Must have been about 10 of them until I found the one I saw from the vent up above. This is where I found her body. Still can't completely comprehend the feeling of seeing her up close. She was about as old as us. Something told me I had seen her before, as if I had a photo of her stuck to my mirror at home. Just couldn't pin it exactly. That sensation you get when you think to recognize someone on the bus, to work, or in your favorite coffee shop, but aren't sure if it's really the case, so you just keep still and wonder. She seemed familiar, and I kept staring. And then it hit me like a brick. I was looking at a dead body, not someone in a damn coffee shop or on a bus. I felt sick, nauseous. Shot in the head, directly between her eyes, still open in shock. If not for the bullet wound, you'd say she was just laying there after a fall, shocked to have tripped. There wasn't terror in her eyes, no sign of a scare. I don't know what made me do it, but I closed her eyes. Was it just so I could let her rest in peace, or was it part of me wanting to play against the goon's orders? Next thing I remember was me running through the small forest to get to our car, starting it, speeding off, nearly hitting a tree, and then sitting around in the police station. Still beat up from my fall, clothes dirty from the jog through the forest, blood on my hands from when I touched that woman's face, and scratched all over from the vines and branches I had hit on my way back. I told them everything. The same story I just told you, word for word. You know the feel when someone listens to you, but you can already tell they're not believing a single word you're saying? That feel when someone thinks you did something, and no matter what you tell them, it won't change their mind? It took me an hour to convince them to even consider going to the place, have a look around. Probably thought I was a loony. 2 officers took me to the place, went down to the lower floor with me, searched it with me. They seemed unfazed about the fact that this did not at all look like a munitions depot. We got to where the girl's body was resting and my heart sank to my stomach. She wasn't there anymore. The blood puddle sure was, but it looked drained. Old, as if 10 years had passed in the time it took me to go to the police station and get the officers back down here. I was warned not to go exploring again. The missing reports from my friends dismissed. I got kicked out and belittled for making such a scene when I surely was just spooked and wanted to make excuses over breaking something. I went home alone that night. Now, I'm sure of what I saw, heard, smelled, felt. But the day after was no better at all. With my friends gone, a murder happening in front of my eyes, I thought the least I could do was let our boss know, get the credentials and tell their parents, So I went into work, still looking beat up well. And this is where it gets even crazier. As I walk up to my boss's office, I make out movement in the corner of my eye. In a reflex, I look over and put my hand up to greet whoever was rounding the corner. Mike? I lifted my hands. My face must have been screaming shock and awe. Hey, Insomnious! Where did you go last night? You didn't come with us to the outpost, ya old lame-o? I didn't? If I remember, I went there 2 separate times. Oh, yeah. You know how I am about my TV shows, man. I'm not. I don't even have a TV. Why'd I even say that? Yeah, good old you. Come next time? He bought it? He's my best friend. He knows I don't have a TV. For sure. Hey, gotta run. Went the detour home last night and tripped in some bushes. Gonna see the doc to make sure it's not some poison ivy stuff. And then I left. Went home and locked the door. That was last night. I don't know what I should make of this. I can't go to the cops anymore. After last night, they already think I'm a maniac, or worse. And with Mike being here, but all weird like, I just don't know how to put it into words. It's like a bad joke that goes on for far too long. Well, I've seen Mike. He seemed healthy but out of place, and he reacted strangely to what I said. Didn't see the other 2 yet, so I don't really know if they are okay or not. I can't have imagined all this. I can assure you, I don't take drugs, don't even drink alcohol. Not the type for psychotic episodes either. Felt uneasy since. Watched from every corner and somehow expected someone to be sneaking about in the darkness outside my apartment. Didn't see anyone, but you know the feeling of being watched, right? I turned to you, NoSleep, as I don't know any other places to start or a better place to tell my story. I plan on going back to work tomorrow, see if I imagine the whole ordeal. But I will keep you guys updated here. Maybe some of you have an idea what I could do, which ends to probe or which things to watch out for. I feel like losing my damn mind. I think I should try and get some rest. Should have searched the woman for an ID, but shock and all,